Welcome to the Fluke Luke Fishing YouTube channel, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you guys about the top 5 baits that you need to be throwing in July. For our first bait, the most well-known summertime bait, you need to be throwing this bait from pretty much the end of springtime all the way till wintertime. That's a topwater frog. And I'm going to give you guys a couple more options in a second, but I think a frog is great topwater. They just love to eat these things. 40-pound braid always on a frog. If you don't have any pads or anything and you want to fish open water, you either need a walking bait up next to the bank, but if you want to make long casts out and you don't know how to walk the dog, you definitely need to be throwing a plopping style bait. So those are really... that covers a lot of it. I mean, a walking frog, it's just a great all-around bait. Walk it good. This, what I like about the Hound is that it kind of disperses water. So this is better. It's not the loudest, but they can follow the bubble trail. And it's got a feather hook. So, that's bait number 1. Now, let's get into bait number 2. So, since bait number 1 was topwater, I'm going to be moving down the water column. Bait number 2 is the moving bait. And that's going to be a lipless crankbait. It's really loud and draws those fish to it. You can either run it really fast, reeling it in, or you can even hop it off the bottom like a jig if they're feeding out the bottom. What I love about this instead of another crankbait is if you're bank fishing, you can get this to any depth. I'm trying to gear this towards bank fishermen because that's what I majority do. Because like a deep diving crankbait that's going to dig into the bottom if you're even fishing deep enough water. And they'll get hung up easier than this because you can reel this right above grass and it does not get into it. So that's definitely lure number 2. Lure number 3 is another moving bait. And that's the chatterbait. Now, I'm going to show you guys a few options for the different forage you have in your ponds. All white or white and chartreuse is great when you're fishing where there's a lot of shad. A bluegill or green pumpkin color is great when you're fishing where there's bluegill. And now's one of my favorite strategies. If they're eating a lot of, or you don't know what they're eating, and they're eating a lot of it though, if you don't know what they're eating, that's kind of bad because you don't know what colors to use. So, what I do is that I throw a little naked chatterbait with no skirt, and I just throw either a swim bait on here. You could even throw like a little craw and just work that blade swimming it, or even hopping off the bottom like a jig, and that blade will just be chattering all day long. That's going to give it great action and a new presentation that the fish probably haven't seen. Moving on to bait 5. We've got the ultimate summertime bait, the big worm. Now, a lot of the fish where I'm fishing, they're super finicky. They don't want a huge worm. So I'm not sure. I think these are 7.25. These are probably 8 inches. And here's a tip that probably no one's told you. There is really, if you're throwing a big worm, there's about 3 colors I like to use. And these are the 3 colors, or 4 colors. 5 actually. 4 or 5. I'll say them. 5 colors to use. And you guys are probably going to be thinking, what about these colors when I'm done? And I'll tell you. So, it's a June bug. It's a plum. It's a black and blue. It's an all black. Or it is a red shad. Those are pretty much the only big worm colors I'll throw. Maybe every now and then I'll throw like a chartreuse tailed on a black worm or something. But don't throw green pumpkin, don't throw watermelon red. I don't get as many bites on green pumpkin and watermelon red. That's just, if you catch tons of fish on green pumpkin, watermelon red, then that's what your fish like. But I promise you, you will get a few more bites if you switch up to plum and June bug. You're going to get more bites. I promise you. My last bait is a just jig. Because, I mean, you can either go with the little finesse jig, like a baby firework jig, which I love when I'm fishing around super rocky bottoms where those fish are eating crawfish, because I can just get, even the little juicy, I can just put that like tiny craw, and that's just not as spooky. But if they're eating big crawfish, like last summer right about now, I saw tons of crawfish in one of my ponds. This color I didn't have last summer, but it's the Flamin' Hot. Sits down there, looks just like a crawfish. If your bass have any crawfish, I guarantee you a red and black with either a red craw trailer or even like a California craw, red or watermelon red, it'll catch them. Hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully you go out there and you smack some fish. Go out there and break your PB. Consider subscribing. Helps out the channel. See you in the next one.